Morning, everyone. It's Naveen joining the call. Can you guys hear me? Could you please type in the chat window? Let's say Aniket. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, guys. So let's get started. Let me just adjust my window here. And let's get started. So before we get started, let's hope you guys all had a good weekend, guys. And hope you guys got a chance to practice a little bit. We'll do a little bit of quick review, and then we'll continue with our sessions today. I'll also be starting a YAML, a touch of Ansible and things like that towards the end of the session, guys. So just stay tuned for that, okay? With that, let's go ahead and see. Probably on a Monday, this is going to be a tough question to ask with and start with, guys. But since we are there, let's go ahead and check it out. Do any of you remember what is the mantra of a class? Could you please type in, or maybe could you please come on the air and answer the questions? Any one of you? What is the mantra of a class? What is a class? Okay, if you recall, class is an architectural plan. The mantra of a class is an architectural plan. And let's see, maybe another tough one, guys. A few of them are going to be tough here because I'm going to go from back to the first. Do any of you guys remember what do we do with a class, guys? After we create a class, what do we do? Okay, so here is a quick hint. You create an object. There is Honda. Honda is an object of a car, okay? And let's say, do any of you remember what is this double underscore in it? What is it? It's a constructor. Why do we call it a constructor, Shubham? Why do we call it a constructor? Because at the time of constructing an object or creating an object, it is getting called, we call it a constructor. Simple as that, guys, okay? And do any of you recall what is self? Tough one. What is self called? What is the mantra of self? Self, to be more precise, is called self-referencing variable. This is something I will ask you to manually remember, and I will explain you one more time why we call that as a self-referencing variable. What are these things called, guys? A name, age, brakes, and tires. What are these things called? It's a simple one. The parameters of the arguments are simple as that, okay? And what is this one? Self.name, age, brakes, and tires. These are called attributes, as simple as that, okay? So just a few lines, but a bunch of concepts coming in there. What is start, stop, and accelerate called? They are called methods, to be more precise. There is a subtle difference between function and method. In a method, the first argument is self. What is self telling? Self is self-referencing variable. It's telling us if you want to call this function or method, you need to create an object of this one that is called self. The self is something I will ask you to manually remember. I'll put a little bit more and say manually remember. That is more of a computer science discipline, guys, okay? A car, what do? You start a car, you stop a car, you accelerate. So what is the difference between attributes and methods, guys? What is the difference between attributes and methods? Attributes. A car has name, age, brakes, and tires. So they all come under has. What do we do with the car? You start it, you stop it, you accelerate it. So they come under does. What you do is becoming a method. What you have is becoming an attribute. Everybody with me so far, guys? Quick yes, please. Okay, so there is badminton player. What does a badminton player do, guys? A badminton player has a name, age, racket, and a shuttle. and a badminton player will do service, they will do smashing. But what is bat and ball here, guys? In badminton player, we have a bat and a ball. Why and what? Maybe a tough question. See if you're able to recall what we were discussing here. This is bad object-oriented design. Okay, what is good object-oriented design? Guys, a badminton player has only a racket and a shuttle. And a cricket player will have only a bat and a ball, not a racket and a shuttle. Putting the right attributes in the right class is object-oriented design. Thinking like this is object-oriented design. Okay, guys, everybody with me? Quick yes, please. So there is a cricket player with a bat and a ball. And let's see, person. What does a person have? A person has a name, age, and a salary. And a person will eat, play, and exercise. So name, age, eat, play, and exercise is something he does. Person has name, age, and salary. Has versus does is going to be the mantra for designing a class. That is something I will force you to remember, guys. Okay. Then let's see. That's where we were discussing the constructor. And okay. So by any chance, do any of you remember what is except, guys? What is except? It's a slightly tough one. Except is exception. Exception is an error. An error, there are different kinds of error, but sometimes some errors Python does not understand. Those errors are referred as exception. It is something Python does not understand. Okay, when you add a 2 to a plus 2, what is the problem when you add this 2 to with this 2, guys? Gentlemen, ladies, what is the problem here? Why is it giving us an error? STRNN, good answer. But why are we not seeing the error, Shubham? Why are we not seeing the error? That we are handling it. That is what is an exception. You don't see a complex error, you handle it is what it is, guys. Okay. Now there is a subtle difference between except and except type error. Do any of you recall what is the difference, guys? Okay. Something is missing means general error. You're cooking a curry, something is missing in the curry is like very general, very high level. But if you're specifically saying salt is not enough, you're being very specific. That is called a type error. So type error is a specific exception. Except is a global exception. When does finally get called, guys? Pardon me. When does finally get called? Okay, short and sweet, it is always getting called. Whether there is an error, whether there is an exception or no exception, finally is always getting called. Everybody able to recall that, guys? Can you give me a quick yes, please? Okay, a little bit. Let's say that's the global exception. Okay. Gentlemen, there is a subtle difference between this sprint, play cricket, and this sprint. This is cleaning up stage. What is the difference? Pardon. Okay, so this is in a global scope. This is in the scope of finally, in a local scope. Now, what is the mantra of global scope and local scope, guys? Any of you recall? Mantra of global scope versus local scope. Global scope is you're in the park. Local scope means you're in a room. A room is actually a function, is what we discussed, if you recall. A room or a house. Okay, guys? That's a little bit of try except, and then let's scroll up here. Okay, gentlemen, ladies, then if you recall, what is this kind of a syntax called? What is this kind of a syntax called? Okay, it is called a list comprehension. List comprehension, okay. By any chance, do you remember what is the mantra of list comprehension, Shubham? Okay, the mantra of list comprehension is, it is one line of code. It is going from right-hand side to left-hand side. Generally, when we execute the code, we go from left-hand side to right-hand side, whereas here, it first starts somewhere in the middle, which is in the right-hand side, and then executes, then goes towards the left-hand side. Okay, it picks up one number from this numbers, and then what is it doing? It is performing what is on the left-hand side, and that is getting added to the one on the left-hand side. Are you able to recall that, guys? Shraddha and Shubham, are you able to recall that, guys? And if you recall, what is 5 to 6 lines of code is reduced to one line of code. It is more of a patternized way of writing the code, more of a modern way of writing the Python code. There are a lot of other scenarios where we can reduce this to just a single line of code. That might be anywhere from 5 to 10 lines of code. If you understand the basics of this one, most of the modern programmers, Python programmers, will be writing like this instead of writing like this. That is something you need to keep in mind. What is append here, guys? What is appending and what is append here? Okay, append, if you recall, it is adding at the end. And what is it here? Append is not a function. Append is a method. Remember, if it is a function, we are directly calling it. Since it is a method, here is an object, new numbers is an object, and then we are calling a append, which is like a method. Okay, and let's say there is a list comprehension. And gentlemen, ladies, what is T? What is T? Numeric data. Coffee? Coffee is textual data. What is a tray? A list. And what is special about list, Rahul? It is, okay, it is a tray of different cups, or in other words, it is a tray in which you can have numeric data and also textual data. Now, what do we say we are doing here, guys? What is this line of code called? Typecasting. We are converting into a list is one way, or we are creating a list object is another way of thinking about it. Okay, there is something about special about set. List is like structure. Yeah. Is it exactly like a structure? It's a complex. Structure is much more complex. Who is that? Nitish. There's much more complex list you can think of is what it is, buddy. Okay. No repeat. Okay. Yeah. So in other words, set is a tray in which you cannot have duplicate elements or duplicate items. Is what it is. So I think here, if you see Nescafe, we have 2 cups. Whereas when you create a set, it is removing one Nescafe. It's only keeping one Nescafe. Cool, guys? Okay, gentlemen, ladies, let's say if you still recall this one, let's go back up here. See, where is the tray? Here is a tray. What is this process called, guys? What are we doing here? It is called unpacking. Tuple unpacking. Short and sweet is what it is. You're unpacking a gift, and then you're taking each gift in it, you're giving it to somebody. Those are nothing but these arguments. Okay, now what is the difference between star C and D, guys? How do you, what is, let's say, what's the right way to ask this question? There's a subtle difference between the right-hand side and the left-hand side here, which means D and E versus star C. All starting elements in C. Okay. Now, so basically, this is a scenario where imagine you are only interested in the last two elements. You're not interested in the elements which are there, except the last two. That's when you'll create a syntax like this. All the elements except D and D, put them in a star, temporary thing, and D and E is what I want. So I'm going to say, hey, here's the last element, and here's the last second element. That is generally how we write that. Catching it, Rahul? Cool. Okay. So again, we cannot use any special characters. We can use underscore. It accepts underscore, but not dollar and the other kinds of things. You can give your own names, but generally in a professional world, even though syntactically it works, we don't want to give our personal names there, guys. Okay. Let's see. Tuple. Okay. What is the mantra of a tuple, guys? Mantra of a tuple? It is immutable, as simple as that. It is a tray in which once you create an item, you cannot modify the tray. Okay, as simple as that. And let's see this tuple type length. Okay. There's a list object. We already discussed about it. Okay. Lambda functions, we have not discussed much about it, so I'll come back later to it. Tray, if tray, block, okay. List comprehensions, again, a little bit of touch of for loops and things like that, then we discussed. Okay, gentlemen, ladies, what is waiter here? Say, scroll up, where are we creating this? Here, what do we call, what is the difference between waiter 1 and waiter 2? Slightly important one. Waiter 2 is very, very important one. Okay, waiter 2 is a dictionary. Dictionary is a group of keys and values. The friendly mantra is it's a tray of pens, caps and pens, tray of cups and saucers. Waiter 1, you can ask waiter 1, hey, give me the first cup. In other words, we go by zero-based index, if you recall, and we are accessing, we are telling the waiter by the index, whereas waiter 2, every cup has a saucer. For the sake of simplicity, this is the saucer or the label. This is a cup, coffee cup with a label Nescafe. So you don't tell, give me, waiter 2, give me first index, he'll give you an error. You say, waiter 2, give me Nescafe and you'll get coffee. If you say Starbucks, you'll get cappuccino. If you say brew, you'll get instant coffee and things like that. Okay, guys. Now let's see. Okay, here is where we discussed about this. But let's see, gentlemen, ladies, there is one more thing special about dictionary. What is special about the dictionaries, guys? Pardon me. Okay, I'll give you a hint. Does this remind you of something? It is mutable. Okay. And let's say, so take a look at this. Nescafe, Starbucks, brew, Caribou, Cafe Day, 2, tea, tray. What are these things on the left-hand side called? And what is special about them? I'll give you a hint. Set. Set is a hint to answer that. Okay. So they are unique. The keys cannot be duplicates. The values can be duplicated. If you notice here, let's say coffee here, mocha, latte. Latte is here for Caribou. Caribou latte. Cafe Day 2 is a latte. Latte and latte are the values. Caribou, Cafe Day 2, these are all the keys. The keys cannot be duplicates. The keys have to be unique. Everybody catching that, guys? Quick yes, please. Cool. Okay, and let's see, almost coming to the beginning here. Okay, gentlemen, ladies, let's see. What is this global Nescafe doing, guys? What does it do? Let's say Nitish, Rahul, are you able to recall? Why are we using the, we are accessing, okay, good answer. Anything else you're able to recall, Rahul? Here is a hint. You're changing it or we are modifying it. Nescafe is a cup in the park. What can we do? You're taking the permission to modify. Okay, if you access the cup in the park or take the cup in the park into your house, you have to take a special permission. That is what global Nescafe is. You have to take the permission. So here, notice Nescafe, print Nescafe. And if he does this one, notice when we call it, we're getting an error. Why? After you access it. Okay, before modifying it more precisely, we need to go ahead and take the permission or the special permission to modify the thing. That's why we're using the global, guys. That's a slightly deep one and a tough one and a slightly important one. I want you to keep that in mind. So notice again, we cannot do that in one line. We have to do that in 2 lines. Okay, guys. And again, that we looked at a bunch of examples. So hopefully you'll be able to recall when you practice, guys, the concept that is the concept at the core. What is input, guys? What does a function input do? It is asking the user to input or taking the input from the user, as simple as that. Okay. And let's see. Then the functions again. Functions again. What is matplotlib, guys? If you recall, what is matplotlib? It is a visualization library. Okay, it is not a mathematical library. NumPy is a mathematical library, Nitish. Okay, for graphics and things like that, we use matplotlib, as simple as that, guys. Then we discussed about the functions. Okay, we also looked at the arrays. Gentlemen, ladies, what is the difference between array and a matrix? A multi-dimensional array is nothing but a matrix. More than one dimension is what it is, guys. As simple as that. Is an array of more than one dimension. Okay, good one. A tray of trays is another way to think, because when it's a single tray, we are referring it to as an array. What is the mantra of import, guys? What does import do? I'll give you a hint. You're a carpenter. Okay, remember, a carpenter has a toolbox. To access the hammer or the screwdriver in the toolbox, you need to open it. That is what the import. Import is opening the toolbox. The toolbox is nothing but the package. It is like you're telling Python, hey, open up this package, open up this toolbox so that we can access the functions inside it. Everybody with me, guys? Quick yes, please. Okay. Let's get back to a few more stuff here. That video close. on start. Okay, I think this is where we are. Okay, so let's see, remove vowels here. A function remove vowels for letter in word. Let's see. Say run this here. Okay, as the name suggests, it is removing the vowels. And what kind of an object is vowels here, guys? What kind of an object is it? It's a list object, as simple as that. And for letter in word. So in other words, more precisely, this is more like a for loop. It is taking each word. So it starts with NSC, and then it is taking each letter, which is each character, and it is checking if letter in vowels. What is slightly deep here? It is not complex, but it is slightly deep here. It is when we say if letter in, it is more of a control F. It is searching if this character or this element is there inside the tray. So even though we say in, which sounds like an English-like statement, is it in this? What it is doing is it's doing a control F for a search. It's like a control F for a find is what it is, guys. Okay. If it is, then it is replacing with, this is called an empty string. Empty string means nothing. It is replacing it, and indirectly it is deleting it, is what it is. That's what. Everybody comfortable with the function, guys? Quick yes, please. Okay. Move a little ahead. Okay. Now comes lambda functions, guys. Lambda functions not from an AWS perspective, but lambda function from a Python perspective is what we'll try to do. Let's see if you're able to catch this, if you're able to answer this one. Okay. Tell me what this function is doing, guys. It's pretty straightforward. What's the function doing, guys? Cool, it is squaring it, as simple as that. 5 square is 25. Okay, now here comes a Python lambda function. Generally, when we write a function, we go from left-hand side to right-hand side. But a lambda function is so. The first line is generally referred as a definition or a signature. This part of it is called signature. This part of it is generally referred as the body of a function or a method. Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll go from right-hand side to left-hand side. So take a look at this. Here is return. We'll copy this one, paste it here. Okay, then put a colon here. Then come here. Here's x as an argument. Okay, then say lambda. Now notice you run this one, you get an error. Why? You don't need to return. In a lambda function, when we write something like this, say from here to here, and let's run it. You don't have a return. Lambda function is by default returning it. And what is it? Notice this is nothing but a one-line function. What is special about it is you can take this function also, which is nothing but code, and you can initialize it. You can create an object of it. Let's say f1. f1 equals to lambda. So now take a look at this, guys. We'll run this one. If you say f1, until now we've been discussing about the teacups and the coffee cups, which is numerical data and the textual data. But now we are putting code. Code is more complex than the data. We are putting complex substance into the cup is what it is. So what is special about this one is lambda function is the mantra of a lambda function. It's a one-line function, generally one-liners. They by default return it. They're written from right-hand side to left-hand side, and they act like an object, which is, let's say, f1 of 5. We get 25. So what is f1? F1 is not only a function, it is also an object. Until now, objects and functions were different. But now we are looking at something where it is acting like an object and also acting like a function. So every function behind the scenes is an object. So what is 5? 5 is an argument. So in other words, let's say, come back here. Here is 5. You take the 5 and that is being assigned to that. Okay, then from here, It's going and performing whatever it is, that is nothing but square. That is what is coming here. Everybody catching it, guys? Quick yes, please. It's just a single line of code. Again, a bunch of lines of explanation. One line, it's just a one line. Most of the time in the world of big data and things like that, the Lambda functions come to your rescue. We don't, we send the code around to hundreds and thousands of servers. In infrastructure as code also, we can use Lambda functions and things like that. And instead of moving the data around in the network, it is better to move the code around because the size of the code is much smaller than the size of the data. The data can be exponentially huge. It could be in terabytes and multiple terabytes of data, especially in the world of analytics and things like that, big data analytics that they deal with. So what do? Rather than moving the data and taking the entire network bandwidth, they move the code around. That's where the Lambda functions really, the use case of the Lambda functions is, guys, okay? We'll discuss them if time permits and things like that in AWS Lambda and things like that in more detail. But let's see, that's hand side to left hand side. And what is it? Now, Lambda function, notice what is F1? F1 is an object, and what is special about this function is it does not have a name. Until now, we've been looking at some functions and methods where we say play cricket, play, do batting, do bowling, do service, do smashing. These are all the methods of the function names. Okay, we never call them as objects, but here we don't have a name. We are calling the name as a Lambda function. A Lambda function is something which is an anonymous function, a function without a name, a function which has no name. What do? We use them to create objects, and we send these objects around in a real world use case and things like that. So another mantra of Lambda function is it's an anonymous function, is something you need to keep in mind, guys. Okay. So now you can give whatever name you like. So you can say instead of F1, here is Raj. So what is it? Lambda function. Lambda is the keyword. Notice it is in green color. It is in slightly in bold. It is a keyword. And what is it? It is not the name of a function. We are calling the concept as Lambda. And what's happening? We are taking this function and putting inside an object called Raj. So Raj of 2 is giving us a 4 because it is squaring it inside. Okay. So now take a look at that. Now here is something slightly deep, guys. Let's say if you're still back from your weekend on a Monday, now tell me what is happening in this function, guys. Let's see, try to answer from a slightly programming or a computer science standpoint, what is happening in this function. Okay. Rahul, Nitish, are you still thinking, guys? It's a simple answer, but I'm confusing you. There's a little bit of complexity here, but it is worth it. Please have a look and try to reply it, guys. It will be helpful for you. Simple answer, gentlemen, ladies, it is creating a tuple. It is returning a tuple object where it's taking an argument, it's squaring it, cubing it, and raising it to the power of 4. And putting all these 3 cups inside a tray and giving it to us. Catching it, Rahul, Nitish. Okay, so now take a look at this. What we'll do, we'll copy this part of it, paste it here. We're going from right-hand side to left-hand side, put a colon, give an argument x, and instead of power 2, say LAMBDA. And then what you say is, we'll call, let's say, F2. Call this as F2, function 2. And then what do? Take out this return. You don't need to return. By default, Lambda function returns. So now, if we say F2 of 2, notice you get 4, 8, and 16. 2 squared, 2 cubed, and 2 to the power of 4. Say F2 of 3. Shift enter if you recall. Gentlemen, ladies, what is the mantra of Anaconda? Anybody recall? What is the mantra of Anaconda? Nitish, Rahul, Shubham, Shraddha. Mantra of Anaconda is, it is like a stadium. It is like a car. Okay, what is the mantra of Jupiter? Jupiter is the playground inside the stadium. The technical mantra of Anaconda is it is a Python distribution. The technical mantra of Jupiter is it is a web IDE. Much more simple, short and sweet, not much of learning curve and things like that. Shift enter is generally how I'm executing. I will force you to remember it and things like that. It's a slightly important one and a very important one, guys. As simple as that. Okay. So there it is. Again, I'm giving Raj. And now, gentlemen, ladies, let's see if you're able to catch it. Catch it, guys. What is different or what is special about this function? Rahul, Nitish, Shraddha, let's see if you're able to give a thought. There is something different in this function. What is it different? It is returning two values. Good answer. You answered 50% of it, buddy. Anything else, Rahul? Let's see if I can give you a hint. That's square. We have already looked at. Okay, let's see. Let's run this one. And what do we do? Say we say x plus y plus z. Put a colon. And let's see. Z. And say lambda. Call this as f3 equals to. Okay, and say f3 2, 3, 4. There it is. Gentlemen, ladies, are you catching what is the difference, guys? It's a simple and a silly answer, but I'm just saying if you're able to catch the confusion here, the slight confusion here. It is just passing 3 arguments. You can pass any number of arguments. You don't need to just pass 1 or 2. You can pass any number of arguments based on your requirement. Is what it is, guys. Okay, as simple as that. Again, they are functions without a name, so they're also called anonymous functions. Okay, so now take a look at this. As the name suggests, is even. You take an argument, you are dividing by 2. If the remainder is 0, then it is divisible. Cool. So that is going to be, you're calling that as is even, and say is even. Say 6 should give us a true. Is even. Say 7 should give us a false. Okay, so in other words, this it is evaluating this one. This is not equal to, this is double equal to. Double equal to means it is checking if it is equal to 0. X mod 2 is a remainder, 0 or not is kind of what it is checking as. Everybody with me, quick yes, please. Okay, and now increasing the complexity. Now take a look at this, guys. Here is function 1 of 10. Oops. Say come here. Let's run this one. Okay, now, gentlemen, ladies, have a look at it. Try to explain me what is going on. Okay, still thinking. So in other words, we're taking an argument, guys. This is slightly deep, but just for sake of discipline, let me quickly explain it. It will be helpful for you. Okay, it takes an argument, and then the first thing is the if is getting executed. If it is checking if it is even. If it is even, it is going to return this one. 10 is even. But if it is odd, okay, from here, it will move to the right hand side. What is that? That will be x plus 1. So in other words, 10 is even. Let's say come here. Here is f function 1. Say odd number is 12. Catching it, guys? Everybody with me? Quick yes, please. Okay. Okay, so now, gentlemen, ladies, this is more from a computer science standpoint. It is something you need to be familiar with, guys. Let's say there is something special going on here. Let's say I'll run this one, 3 of them at one time. We'll say print function 1. Say print function 1. Let's run it. Now, gentlemen, ladies, can you tell me what is something which is different here? Are you able to look at this without much and kind of get a feel of the logic which is going on? There is something going on here. Okay, so in other words, more precisely, note is a true. So when you give it the argument, no matter which argument you are giving it, it first executes the true. In other words, we are starting somewhere from the right hand side as the first mantra. Then after the argument is given, it is moving and checking this one. But what is if true, guys? If true is always true. True is always true. So in other words, this condition will never get executed. It's more from a programming standpoint you need to be aware of. If you give true, no matter whether it is 10, you're adding 2 and giving it back. And even when we give a 7, it is adding back a 2. It is adding 2 to it and returning back. Catching it, guys? Quick yes, please. Okay. Say, come here. Okay, so let's dig a little bit deep. So, gentlemen, ladies, what is this line called? Can you take a guess what we are doing in this line? What are we doing in this line? What is this line called? It's a slightly confusing question. Assigning multiple values, very good. In other words, more precisely, we are creating multiple objects. We're creating 4, maybe 5 teacups here, numeric data at one time. So 13 is going to go into A, 5 is going to go into B, and the other things are going to go into the respective things. Okay, so now let's take a look at this. We have, what are these things? What's happening here? We are creating multiple variables, multiple objects, multiple cups is one thing, but what is special here? Simple answer, we're creating coffee cups. A, B, X, Y, Z are teacups. Salman, Shahrukh, and so on are coffee cups is what it is. Okay, so let's see what we are doing. So let's, for sake of discipline, let's print the coffee cups. This is what we have. Now, here is a function called mystery, which means there is a house called mystery. And let's see what is happening here. Let's run this one. Mystery, cappuccino, and French vanilla. So scroll up here. Use this one. Scroll down. Okay. So let's see if we can visualize this quickly and get a feel of it. Okay, so there it is, guys. Salman, Shahrukh. Say, choose that. This Prabhas. And we have Akshay. We have Katrina. And what is special about all these things, guys? These are all in the global scope. They're in the park. They're not defined inside a function. Okay? But here is a house called mystery. Okay? So what is this Prabhas and Akshay called this? Slightly confusing question. What is special about this Prabhas and Akshay? Okay, short and sweet, they are local variables. Even though notice we have a Prabhas here and an Akshay here, this Prabhas and Akshay are the arguments. We have given the same name. Again, here we are giving some names which are familiar just for the sake of understanding. But in a real world and a professional world, try to give some meaningful variable names based on your requirement and things like that. Okay, so we have 5 cups and there's a house. What is happening is, what is really happening is, it is like if you want to go into this house, you need to go with 2 cups. There is Prabhas, and let's say here is Akshay. And what are we doing? Prabhas is coming with cappuccino, and this guy is coming with French vanilla. So there is French vanilla. Let's say here is cappuccino. So to get into his house, we are coming with 2 cups. Now, the first step we are doing is global Salman, which means we're taking a special permission. Where is Salman? Salman is this cup. And what is this? Salman is already having a coffee. So now what we are doing is we take Salman. It's like we are getting the cup from the park into the house, and we are changing it to cappuccino. Changes to cappuccino. So after this step, just visualize the cup is put back here. There is Salman, and now he has cappuccino, not coffee. For the sake of simplicity, we'll say he has cappuccino, coffee. He has cappuccino, sorry. So this is cappuccino. He's not having coffee, that is the change. Then we are saying Prabhas Akshay is equal to Akshay and Prabhas. So slightly computer concept here, guys. What is this? This is called swapping. So here is Prabhas coming with the coffee, no, cappuccino. And here is another one. Who's this guy? Akshay is coming with French vanilla. So now visualize what we are doing is we take one cup here. We're taking this cup. Take the cappuccino in Prabhas cup, put it here. Then take the French vanilla. Move this here. Move this here. Okay, so what is this? We are swapping the values. At a computer science level, this is what the concept is happening, and this will be removed. That is the next step. In the first two lines, what did we do, guys? Let's say I come here, choose this one. In the first two lines, we have taken the special permission. We have removed the coffee. We added the cappuccino. Then we are swapping Prabhas and Akshay. So that's where whatever Prabhas is given to Akshay, and Akshay is given to Prabhas is what it is. Next, Shahrukh equals to vanilla. So there is something special going on here, guys. Can I know any of you tell me what is special about this Shahrukh? Okay, Stefan. It is going to be a local variable. We already have a cup called Shahrukh here. Okay, but notice we are modifying Shahrukh here. If we are modifying and we have not taken a permission, then what is Python going to do? Python is going to give us a new cup here, which name is Shahrukh. Everybody able to recall that, guys? Quick yes, please. Okay, then what we are doing is, so first we give vanilla to Shahrukh, new Shahrukh, and then we are giving a soda to Shahrukh. That is okay. What is this one here? We don't need to give global because it's not a cup in the park, it's a cup in the house, which is local variable, is what it is. So first we have given vanilla, then we have given soda. Then Chetan equals to espresso. So what is Chetan? Do we have Chetan on the top? We don't have Chetan. Chetan is having espresso. Okay, so come here. There it is. Okay. Gentlemen, ladies, Chetan is espresso, and then we are printing all the cups here. So there it is. Originally, Salman, notice he had a coffee. We changed it to cappuccino. Then we swapped Prabhas and Akshay. What is slightly deep here is the Prabhas and Akshay are here. Local variables, they are not same as the Prabhas and Akshay in the park. They are not same as the global variables. So if you swap them, French vanilla is going to him and cappuccino is going to Akshay. Okay, guys, so that's why we're printing French vanilla and cappuccino here. And soda, who's this one? So this is coming from Shahrukh. Cappuccino soda. Oh, yeah, Shahrukh here. We made a change here. Sorry. We made a change here. So Shahrukh is having soda, and these two got swapped. And what is the last one? The last one is Katrina. Katrina, we didn't even touch inside the house. We did not make any change. So it continues to have letters. Everybody catching it, guys? Quick yes, please. Okay. Gentlemen, ladies, let's take a short 5-minute break, guys. 10:53. Let's regroup by 11 and continue. Have a glass of water, maybe a cup of tea. Step out and come back in, guys. Fair enough? Everybody with me? Quick yes, please. Thank you, guys. Okay, guys, I'm back. Sorry about that. Can you give me a quick yes, please? Okay. Let's see. Back here. So that is the story of the mystery house. And one more time, Salman, a few coffee cups, printing them, mystery, taking the permission for Salman, adding cappuccino. And it looks like, again, we are taking the permission for Prabhas and Akshay, swapping them. The same thing, guys, the same thing with a little bit of here and there. I'll leave that to you. You can go ahead and try to look at it and try to get a feel of it, just a little change there, guys. Okay, so I guess this is also same. Okay, back again. I think a quick review again on another day. So I'll leave that. Akshay Shahrukh. So the moment, global Salman. No problem with Salman. But take a look at Prabhas and Akshay. Prabhas and Akshay here, we have not used global. If we have not used global, remember, these are not the global variables, these are the local variables. Okay, and we're swapping them, rest of the thing is same, guys. So just the same thing, different permutations and combinations, just the objectives, be comfortable with the function, guys, okay? So let's see what else we have, name, age, brackets, weekdays, Sunday, Monday, and so on up to Saturday. What are these, guys? These are the days of a week and they are generally not changing. So what are we doing? We're designing as a list object. Now, modified, change Sunday to January, which is not really meaningful. So what do? Don't do that. To prevent that, we create a tuple. Tuple is something which is immutable. And it is used when you have a group of numbers or group of data or some data which is used for immutability. So you try to modify tuple, it'll give you an error. Okay, guys, back to dictionary. Cap 1, pen 1, cap 2, pen 2. So it's like a cap and a pen and a key and a value. Cap is the key, pen is the value. Tray of pens, the flower bracket is dictionary. Back to cups. And now take a look at this, guys. Here is cups, it's a tray of coffee cups. What is Nescafe in cups? You are searching the controller for the search for Nescafe in the tray called cups. You're searching in a tray of cups. Nescafe is there, so it's returning a true. So this is like a English-like statement. Then we have a group of sports here, calling them as activities. Say tennis in activities, yes, that should be a true. And swim not in activities. Notice that, guys. It is not in. It's like a plain English-like statement. That's what Python is popular. We can write lots and lots of statements like that, which sound like English, plain English, and there is swim. Everybody with me, guys. Swim not in activities is false because swim is in activities. Swim is there. Cool. Next, back to tray and back to for loop. Should be comfortable by now. We're just printing a group of cups. Each one is getting picked up, guys. Okay, but let's see. Okay, maybe a repetition here. Indentation is a must. The print should be in the scope of the for loop if you're writing a for loop. And the colon is also is a mandatory thing, guys. All right. Okay, now take a look at this, guys. One more time. For coffee in tray, print coffee end equals to comma. What happens is this is called a delimiter. At the end, it's putting a comma. Earlier in the previous scenario, it is separating them with a new line. New line means next line and enter. Whereas here, you can separate it with your own special characters and things like that. That is what is comma. Shrishel Rahul, catching it, buddy? Okay, back to activities. Now take a look at this, guys. This is referred as placeholder. So what is F? F is nothing but F string. It is nothing but another way of printing the cup. But what is happening is, notice the activity. It's put in the flower brackets. So when you put it like this, the F string is you're telling the F string. We call this as an F string. You're telling this activity is a variable. Somewhere it is a cup. Even if you don't put the flower brackets, it's okay. But when we write some complex scenarios and things like that, the placeholders will come to our rescue. Something to be kept in mind. Short and sweet, what I want you to remember is this is F string. And we'll talk about a lot about this kind of syntax in YAML and things like that, in Ansible and things like that. These placeholders get used a lot. Almost all these concepts will get used in Ansible, guys. Okay, so they're slightly important. So now take a look at this, guys. Here is enumerate. Okay, so when you say, that's right. Put this here. Put this here. So here is a tray. 3 cups in it: soccer, karate, basketball. What's the for loop doing is it's just picking up this cup and printing soccer, followed by karate, followed by basketball, as simple as that. But when we use something like this, enumerate, what it is doing is it is unpacking. It is also referred as unpacking, which is it takes soccer, puts it here, then it's putting a 0, and put both of them inside a tray. In other words, more precisely, when we need an index, sometimes when we need the index for further processing and things like that, what do? That's when we use an enumerate. Again, something I will ask you to manually remember. So it is starting with a 0-based index. And when we need to play around with the index, we will go ahead and use something like this, guys. All right. So for the karate, it is 1, basketball, it is 2. Shrishal, catching it, buddy? Rahul? Cool. So now take a look at this, guys. Here is day activity. The same thing. We're just concatenating the day. Day, we are giving 0 soccer, day 1, day 2, basketball, and so on. But let's see what else we have. Come here. Okay, now take a look at this, guys. Day of I. Increasing a slight complexity. Oops, one more time. So come here, copy that. So what is I? So here we say enumerate is unpacking the index. It is also unpacking the activity. And then we are printing the index in a placeholder. We are also printing. Okay, the same thing, let us say, come back here. Put this here. If you have to print the same thing without, we'll say, oops, print, say day, and what is I? We'll say print, right? So we'll have to say plus day space, plus is a concatenation, and here is str of I. Need to convert that one. Let's say plus activity is going to be activity. And what is this one? Put a plus here. Put this here. So now take a look at this. So copy this one. Take a look at this. So it looks like, again, we have to put a space here. Sorry. Let's set on this one. The same output, put a colon also. Let's run it. Exactly the same output without an F string. With F string, it's slightly more much simpler, clean and neat. Whereas here you have to convert this into a string, and you have to put the spaces, the colons, and things like that. It takes a little bit of slightly more time and effort to figure out those things. Whereas this one is much more neat and clean. So what is slightly, we need to be familiar. This whole thing is a string, but inside the string we are referring to I and activity using a placeholder, which are like the cups of the variables. Inside a string, we are referring to the objects, which is nothing but as a placeholder is something you need to manually keep in mind. That's something we'll use heavily in the world of YAML and Ansible. We'll see that in the coming updates, guys. Okay, everybody with me? Rahul, Shrishal? Okay, so again, day I activity, the same thing, right? Day of I. Okay, now take a look at this, guys. Here is start equals to 1, enumerate. We say start equals to 1. Let's say come back here. So run this one, run it. So there it is. Instead of a 0, you can explicitly say, hey, sometimes we don't need a 0-based index. We need a 1-based index. So we are starting with day 1, day 2, and day 3 rather than a day 0. You can give your own start index based on what your requirement is, guys. Okay. Okay. So, gentlemen, ladies, let's see what we have here. Okay. Start with, come here. And we'll say, here is os.getCWD. Notice we'll get an error. What is OS? OS is like operating system. What you need to do is you need to import OS. Import OS. And now say os.getCWD. So this is like another toolbox we're opening. Right now, the Jupyter is pointing to this directory. C users and guest. And let's see what we have here. Now take a look at this, which is, let's say, come back here. MSC. Let's go to this batch data sets. Set on it. Give it a moment. Oh. Zoom it up. One moment, guys. Sorry about that, guys. So take a look at this one. Here's a file with some data in it. And we have totally about 196 records here. If you notice, the first record is country name. Country name is country name. Pretty straightforward. Country code is nothing but the abbreviation. Then we have the birth rate. It is 10.24, which means roughly in this country, Aruba, for every 1,000 people, 10 children are being born in this country. Internet users is 78.9, means for every 100 people in Aruba, 78 people have access to internet. It's a high income country, means it is probably a rich country. Then we have Afghanistan. For every 1,000 people, 35 children are being born, 5.9, means only 5 people have access to internet. They're a low income or a poor country, and so on. Like that, if we scroll all the way down, we have close to 195 countries data is what we have. Okay. And what is this one, guys? Notice it's a CSV. CSV means a comma separated values file. And if we come back here, let's say, right click this, say, there it is. The same file is nothing but a comma separated file. When we open in Excel, we have different feel of it, but that is a CSV file. If you go all the way down, totally there are 196 records of data, guys. Okay. And let's say come back here. So now take a look at this. Where is this one, guys? This one is located here. There is an R datasets folder and course IT and things like that. So what is this? This is the path of it. So now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and give a complete path here, and we'll say PD read CSV. Notice if we run that, we'll get an error. What is the problem, guys? The problem is it is saying PD is not defined. What is PD? Let's try to understand that. If you come here, we need to import pandas. Pandas is another package, a very powerful package. If you know pandas, they say, 50% of Python, guys. Okay, it's a very, very important package. This is how we read the text files. It can be used for reading text files, any other JSON files, XML files, YAML files, and also CSV files. So now what we are doing is we said PD import pandas, and what do we do? Say pandas.read CSV. So pandas is the name of the package. Generally, a good practice is use PD. For that, what we do, I don't think I need this. We'll say import pandas as PD, the alias name of the friendly name, and say read CSV. So run this one, come here. Now notice read CSV, we are able to read the complete file. So what is that one? If you say stats, notice it will give you a group of rows and columns. What is this? This is called a data frame. And as I said, if you know matrices and data frames, 50% of the Python is what it is about this. It is so common, everybody use them and so on, and they make life very, very simple, guys. So okay, so what is this one, guys? Think of this as a tray which has a group of trays. Let's say, for sake of simplicity, I'll call this as the first tray. We'll put the second tray here. And what is special about these trays? These are a tray of trays with different cups. In other words, let's say, choose this one for coffee. So here's a coffee cup, here's a coffee cup, and here's another coffee cup. And here are the teacups. Choose this, teacups. So it's a tray of trays with different cups in it, is one way to think of it. Another way to visualize this is, let's say, get rid of this, back here. Now visualize this as a tray, coffee tray. We'll call this as a coffee tray. And here is another coffee tray. And what do? We will say these two are the tea trays. Tea tray and another tea tray. So what is it? It is a data frame, a tray of different trays, a tray in which you can have tea trays and coffee trays. Matrix, which we are referring as a double-dimensional array, is a tray of similar trays. You cannot have tea trays and coffee trays. You can have either tea trays or coffee trays. Whereas a data frame is a tray in which you can have tea trays or coffee trays. That is a data frame. What is data frame? Data frame is like a table in a database, is what it is. And it is coming from pandas package. Everybody with me? Python does not have data frames. So that is why it is using an external package or an extension called pandas. Click yes, please. Okay, so now let's take a little bit deep, slightly important here. So now what we have stats. If you just type in stats, you get everything, all the 194 or 5 rows and the 5 columns. It is by default taking the header, the top line as a header. So here we go. Country name, country code by default is taken as a header, guys. Okay. Now let's say, take a look at this. os.getCwd. OS is like operating system. You can think. Get CWD means get current directory. In a Linux world, it's like your present working directory. Currently, Jupyter is pointing to this particular directory. So what we'll do is we'll say read CSV and we'll just give the demographic data. Notice it will give me an error. If you just say read CSV, it is looking in this current working directory and we do not have it in this directory. What do? That's why we give the full path. A shortcut is say os.chdr. So I come here. So you're changing the directory. It's like a CD, chdr. And now what do? You just check it. If you see what's your get current working directory, it is our data sets and say read CSV. Demographic data. So what is it? This is generally what we do, guys. All our data sets generally might be in a particular folder and things like that. You just point to that particular directory, you try to read that directory. Many times when you write small scripts and things like that, you're pointing to specific directories. So we should be aware of the chdr. Everybody with me, guys? It's nothing but your CD. What's in Linux CD? I'm hoping you all have an idea of Linux. Anybody here not in Linux, guys? Quick yes, please. Anybody not into Linux? Acha. Oh, acha. You're not into Linux, Rahul? Oh, I see. Sorry about that. Okay, so just stick with me. The rest of you guys, all of you are into Linux, guys. You have a touch of Linux. Can you give me a quick yes? No? Acha. Okay, you don't have an idea of Linux also. Oh, okay. How many of you don't have an idea about Linux? I thought you guys all have an idea about Linux. Gentlemen, ladies, I need a yes or no, because the future, the Ansible, the Dockers, all those things are going to be Linux based. Can you give me a quick, so it looks like Rahul, Kajal. Rest of them, are you into Linux or no, guys? If you can answer, I will prepare a few comments which are the most important comments in Linux, and I will try to give you a quick review, guys. Okay. Looks like about 1, 2, 3. 3 of you. Oh, okay. Basic, okay. Oh, okay, okay. All right, I'll try to come up with something, because all the future concepts are going to be slightly deep into Linux, and I thought maybe you might be familiar, because for some reason I thought like that, I don't know why, but okay, that's not a problem. We'll go with those things also, we'll accommodate them, guys, okay? So now come back here, take a look at this, guys. Here is a data frame. The mantra of a data frame, it's a tray of different trays. Now say stats.head. Head is a method, stats is an object. What does head do? Head gives you the top 5 rows and top 5 rows, as simple as that. You may have 5 columns or 6 columns. The head gives you top 5. Then say stats.tail gives you the last 5 rows. Zimbabwe, Zambia, so on up to Yemen Republic. Some of them are low income, some of them are upper middle income, some of them are lower middle income. Notice the birth rate is for every Zimbabwe, for every 1,000 people, 35 children are being born. And only 18 people have access to internet. South Africa, for every 1,000 people, 20 children are being born. And for every 100 people, 46 people have access. They are upper middle income, is what is difference, guys, okay? We can also say stats head of 10. So stats head. Country name, code, birth rate, internet users, and income group. So in other words, if you give a specific number, it is giving you the 10 rows. You can get maybe 20, 30, 40, and things like that. Generally, if there are 100,000 or 10,000 rows, what we generally do is we are interested in the top 10 rows just to look at the data, get a feel of the data and things like that. That's where we use the head and the tail, guys, okay? So again, that is the tail of 10. Now here is length. Length will give you the number of trays or the number of rows. There are 195 rows excluding the header, 195 countries information. Stats.columns. What is columns? Columns is a method. Stats is the object. So there are 5 columns, as simple as that, something. So we have to constantly think in terms of the object orientation also, the class, the object and the method versus the function is what we also need to constantly think. If you say length of stats.columns, that will give you 5. There are 5 columns, 195 rows and 5 columns. Shape will give you a combination of both of them. 195 rows and 5 columns. Everybody with me so far? Quick yes, please. Mohammed, Sai. Okay, the Linux thing is slightly important, guys. So you should keep me posted on things like that because that is a bit important, guys. I've been preparing some content thinking that you guys are based on Linux, and yeah, just keep me posted and things like that. That's actually very important that I know that kind of things. But sorry about that. Okay, so back to type. Gentlemen, ladies, if you recall, type gives you the data type. Notice it says it's a data frame. The full name is pandas, core frame, and data frame. But as long as you remember it's a data frame is a tray of different trays. That is what is important. Okay, guys, I'm going to stress you. I'm going to force you to remember that. Stats info. Okay, now this is a slightly deep one. It gives you everything. Okay, it is telling you it's a data frame object. There are 195 rows. There are 5 columns. It is giving you all the column names. And notice, non-null. I'll force you to remember. It is telling all the 195 countries' names are there. 195 codes are there, everything. Let's say if this was only 194, that means that is referred as one of the country does not have a code. If this was 194. So what is non-null? Non-null means it is populated. It is not missing data. If one of them is more or less, generally not more, but if some of them are less, that means there is some missing data. And D type is data type. Object means it is internally treating it as a coffee cup or a string object. Country name is a textual data. So the textual, it will either give it as an object or a string. And the float means it is numerical data. It is ginger tea. Birth rate, these are decimals and decimals. It's a ginger tea. In your RAM, it is taking that much of usage. Is what it is, guys. Okay. So which means together, this whole thing is referred as metadata. That's a slightly important thing. Slightly important method that you need to keep in mind. It is referred as metadata. Number of rows, number of columns, what are the column names and everything. About 5 or 6 kinds of information is this one. And that is important, guys. Okay. Okay. Now take a look at this. Here is describe, going a little bit deep. Another slightly important one. Notice even though we have 5 columns, country name and things like that, only for birth rate and internet users, it is giving us what is called the basic statistics or the descriptive statistics. What is the importance of it, guys? Notice the minimum. Minimum is 7.9. And what is this? That is birth rate, which means there are some countries for every 1,000 people, only 7 children are being born in those countries. There are some countries where close to 49 children are being born. What is that one? That is the birth rate. And take a look at the mean. Mean is 21, which means on an average around the world, for every 1,000 people, 21 children are being born. This is slightly old data, maybe 4 or 5 years, maybe 6 or 7 years old data. Or in other words, this is United Nations data. If we download the latest data, we might get a little bit more updated insights and things like that. What is this? This is called basic statistics. This is called descriptive statistics. These are some basic insights. Let's call them as basic insights. You just have an idea about what is going on. Okay. Now take a look at the internet users. In some countries, for every 100 people, only 1 person has access to internet. In some countries around the world, in some countries, for every 100 people, 96 people have access to internet. On an average, around the world, for every 100 people, 42 people have access to internet. That is internet users. Okay, again, this would have been updated. This is slightly old with Geo and things like that in India. Almost everybody has access to internet with their mobile phones and things like that. So now maybe I would not be surprised if this is close to 70 or maybe 80 of it also and things like that. And what is this, guys? Notice birth rate and internet users is numerical data. The rest of the columns are textual columns. For textual columns, you do not do statistics. Only for numerical columns, you do statistics. That is why describe is giving the basic statistics only for the numerical columns. Catching it, guys? Quick yes, please. Sai and Rahul. Good. So that is basic statistics. Notice transpose, as the name suggests, it is transposing the rows into the columns and the columns into the rows. As simple as that. And you can also use the T. T is also a shortcut for transpose. describe.t. And if you do a t.t, that will put it back to the rows and columns. That is just a little bit of playing around and things like that, but transpose is transposing rows and columns back to school and things like that, guys. Okay, so now take a look at this, guys. We'll go a little bit deep. Let's see what we have. Stats head. So there is a top 5 rows and columns, and let's see what else we have. Here is list. Now what we are going to be doing is increasing the complexity. Imagine we are going to the data frame, asking it, hey, give me all your columns, and then putting into a tray called list. What is that? That's a tray. That's a list object. Okay. Now, what is country name? Country name is country name. You try to access it, notice it will give you an error. What are we trying to do? We are using the data frame and we are trying to access the country name. We are not able to access the country name. We cannot access the country name like that. What should we do? So take a look at this. Stats head. One more time. We'll verify this. There is a country name with a space. Country is there with a space. Notice in the column names there are spaces. So what we'll do is we will say stats.columns equal to a list object. It looks like a tuple and a list, or we can just put a list object there. And country name without a space, country code without a space, and so on. We are renaming. You can give any name, whatever is meaningful. Here, for the sake of simplicity, we are renaming it to without a space. And now say head, verify that. Notice country name is without a space. Then what you do? Stats dot and say C and do a tab. Notice, give it a second. Country code and country name are coming up. So in other words, here's country name. So notice it gives you all the country names. So what does that mean? With a space, we are not able to access an individual column, but without a space, we are able to access the individual column. Everybody catching it, guys? Quick yes, please. Cool. Okay, so country name. You can also say country name dot head. So this country name, so in the country name, when you just say country name, it gives you all the country names. It gives you the entire first column. But when you say country name dot head, it only gives you the top 5. And what is this, guys? When you say stats dot country name, you think of it for a moment. This is nothing but a data frame of a single column, a single tray. This whole thing, stats, is a data frame of 5 trays. This one is a data frame of a single tray. So in other words, what we are doing is when you try to extract some data, you're getting the data in the form of a data frame. More precisely, when you have a single column, it is called a series object. You can think of it like a single data frame, or a data frame with a single column. Are you catching it, guys? That's why we are able to do the head. Are you catching it, guys? Nitish and Rahul, are you catching it, buddy? Okay, so here is another way. You can use stats.country name. You can also use the brackets like that. Stats of country name dot head. Okay, when we use the brackets, we can also have spaces, but we'll come back to that. So now take a look at this. You access country name. Here is country name and birth rate. We'll get an error. Okay, what's the problem? What we need to do is, if you want to access more than one column, give it as a list object inside that one. You use double brackets like that. And another one. And now take a look at that. So that's like a data frame. We're only accessing, we're saying here, give me the top 5 rows. So data frame with 2 columns, so 5 rows and 2 columns. Nitish and Rahul, are you catching it, guys? If you want to access more than one column, so what we're doing is be familiar with those double brackets. And what is this? This is called subsetting, is what it is called, guys. Okay. You can also do the reverse. Let's say, what do we have here? Starts of country name, birth rate. Oh, okay, they're double brackets. Okay, you can also explicitly put it into a list object like that and say stats of list. Okay, so here this is just another way syntactically we're accessing it. You can also reverse the order. You can say just give me the birth rate and the country name. Okay, guys. Nitish and Rahul, catching it, guys? Okay. If time permits, guys, please try to practice these things. That will be helpful for you guys. Do keep it in mind. And now take a look at this, guys. So when we say birth rate and country name, we are asking all the columns. Okay, let's say we only want specific columns, 4, 8. If you recall the mantra of inclusive versus exclusive, 4 to 8 for Python is 5 to 9 for humans, which means you're saying, give me 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which is like 5. But what will it do? The 9th one will be exclusive, which means we will get the country name and the birth rate of 5 to 8. We're only getting 4 and not 5 rows and columns. Rahul and Nitish, are you able to catch that? We are subsetting. This is called slicing and dicing. In the world of stocks, data, and things like that, these things really come to. So every one line of code here is multiple lines of code in other programming languages, guys. That is what is the magic. The slicing and dicing is very, very powerful in the world of pandas. It's very simple. The only thing is we just need to get familiar with it, especially in a financial analytics world. These kind of techniques will come to your rescue. Otherwise, it will become very, very, very time consuming, and we will end up writing some very, very convoluted code to extract certain things, for loops, nested for loops, and things like that, guys. Okay. We can also say, if you just say stats, which is a data frame, 4, 8, notice you're saying, give me the rows from 5 to 9, which is like 5 to 8 for Python. So it will give you only 5 to 8. And now what is special here, we did not give the column names, so all the columns are given, returned to us. Quickest, please, Nitish, Rahul. Okay. Okay, DF1, one more time. Notice country name and birth date. We've already seen this one. It gives you all the rows. Sorry. Sorry. This is DF1. What is DF1? We extracted 4 to 8 rows, all columns. In that one, you're just saying country name and birth rate. So we're just getting 4 of them. So what is this one? Step 1, step 2. What is that? That is one step. Slicing and dicing in one line. You can, let's see if this one works. Come here. Scroll down. Starts 8 to 4. Continue. Okay. So in other words, the increment is working, the decrement is not working. There's a way we can get that working. Let's see, take a look at this. This is how, if you want in a reverse order, you can do 8 to 4. 8 is inclusive, 4 is going to be exclusive. And what is happening? -1 means whether you want increment. 8 minus 1, 7, 7 minus 1, 6 minus 1, 5, 5 minus 1, 4, it will stop there. So the -1 is saying, hey, use the decrement order or give it in reverse order. When you do minus means, give it in a reverse order in the index of 1. It's a slightly, let's try -2 and let's see what we get here. Okay, we're only getting the, so minus means it's giving in the reverse order. And 2, every second one it is selecting and giving it to us. Rahul and Nitish, are you catching it, guys? Good, cool. Okay, 4, 8, okay, let's say 4, 8, 2, this will give you in the original order every second element. As I said, that single line of code will allow us to write 5 to 10 lines of code in normal programming languages, guys. So you'll be able to appreciate it if you're coming from there, but just to give you an idea and things like that. And let's see. Okay. Back to classes and things like that. And let's see what else we have. Okay, so let's continue here and see back to class is an architectural plan. Init is a constructor. Self is a self-referencing variable. A name and age are the arguments. Name, age, friends are the attributes, guys. Now take a look at this. There is a subtle difference between name, age, and friends. Name is textual data. Age is numerical data, which is like a coffee cup and a teacup, whereas friends is a list object, which is a tray. So let's create an object P1. Let's run it. P1 dot do a tab, age friends. So take a look at name. There is Salma. Okay, so what is special is friends. A person has a group of friends. So what is list? List is a complex object. It's not a teacup or a coffee cup. So you say P1 dot friends right now, it is empty. What is this? It's an empty list object. So what can we do? Let's say we had a friend called Rishabh. And then say P1 dot friends. Notice Rishabh is a friend. Now there he has one friend. Whoever this person, Salman, has one friend is what we can say. Similarly, for a cricket player, name and age are coffee cup and a teacup, bat and ball, coffee cup and a teacup, but a group of awards, we are designing it as a list object. Okay, so let's define a cricket player. Sachin is a cricket player. Then come here. Badminton player. For a badminton player, name, age, rackets, a group of rackets. You can design whatever is meaningful to you. You can design rackets, you can design shuttles, you can also have awards for a badminton player also. That is up to you, is what it is, guys. So there is Sindhu, badminton player. Sindhu is an object of badminton player. You say rackets, and let's see, it's an empty list. So what you do, you add a Unix, you add a Linux. Add a Unix and Linux. Remember, append is nothing but add. And then say rackets, you're getting Unix and Linux, which is okay, which is nothing but a list object. More importantly, why did we put a list object as rackets? That is, whatever is meaningful to you, you can put it. There is no hard and fast rule. And what is this? This is nothing but designing, an object-oriented design. You can also hard code it. If you'd like to, you can hard code rackets in an object like this. Unix and Linux is the badminton player. And here's Sindhu. So now if you say Sindhu dot do a tab, notice rackets, you should get the Unix and the Linux. Rahul and Nitish, are you catching it, guys? Okay, so let's move a little ahead. Now take a look at this, guys. One more time, we are hard coding it here. The first one, what did we do, guys? The first scenarios where we created an empty list. Then we added them afterwards. Then we hard coded these things into a list object. In the constructor, we have added them. Then the third process is we are directly hard coding them in the constructor. So if you say Sindhu.rackets, you should get both Linux and Unix and Linux. Okay, it is again, whatever is comfortable to you, we can do it like that, guys. Okay, then go into class badminton player. Now notice we have few rackets hard coded here. Here is Sindhu creating an object of Sindhu. Access the rackets, we should get 4 rackets. Unix, Wilson, Costco, Victor. Let's also add another Linux. And say, give me the rackets. Okay, Linux is added. Now if you say type of Sindhu, it should give you badminton player. Badminton player is the class. The data type of Sindhu is a badminton player. Say type of Sindhu dot rackets. Notice it should be a list object. Catching it, guys? Rahul and Nitish, are you catching it? Okay, so type is giving us the data type. The data type of Sindhu is the badminton player. It is giving you the class of Sindhu. Is what it is. We need to keep in mind, guys. Okay. Okay. Gentlemen, ladies, a little bit of mix and match and things like that. Bear with me, but clarifying a few concepts, guys. Now take a look at back to the mystery house. Prabhas and Akshay modify the global. Global Salman means we are taking special permission to modify the cup called Salman. You put cappuccino. But let's say, copy this one, run this one. Notice we'll get an error. What is happening is the same thing, give the indentation. it will work. In other words, you cannot write a function where some of them are indented and some of them are not indented. Catching it, guys? Quick yes, please. The indentation is more of a syntactical requirement. Python is forcing you, telling you, hey, always be aware of the indentation. It is behind the scenes going ahead and taking care of the syntactical compilation and things like that. Okay. So now take a look at this. Here is mystery. Here is Salman. And what is this? This is where the indentation ends. If you run this one, we should not get any problem. Because starting from Prabhas, after the first 2 lines of code, in the function, we are in the park. And you're not trying to go back into the house like how we did earlier. So this is okay. All these are also global variables. So it's not complaining because we defined them earlier. So you cannot have a mix and match of those local scope and global scope. If you're out of the function and if you're in the park and you're not again trying to get into that house, then it is working. Rahul, Nitish, quick yes, guys. Okay, Rahul and Nitish are in the chat window, guys. That's why I'm constantly tracking them. I'm hoping others are also able to understand along with them, guys. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Great, thank you, Shisha. Okay, so there is mystery. Let's scroll down. Mystery again, just using different names and things like that. Let's see what's happening here. Now here is mystery 1. Salman, Prince Salman, Tajan. I don't think there is any change here. This should work without any problem. Cappuccino and frappe and sorry, mystery 1. Mystery 1, let's run it. We're getting coffee. We're returning Taj. If you recall, the mantra of return is when you are coming out of a function, you're giving a gift. Is what it is, guys. Okay. Mystery 2, let's see what is happening. Global Salman. Salman is cappuccino, taking the special permission. No problem, no problem. I don't think there should be any problem here. No, sometimes the tabs when I copy paste it, guys, just to keep our time more productive and save the time I'm copying and pasting, guys. If I keep typing every possible scenario here, it might take too much long. So sometimes when I copy paste, some special characters are getting introduced into the Jupyter. Just be aware of that. Just take care of those, remove or delete them, and it should work fine. Srishad, Nitesh, catching me, guys? Okay, good. So back to mystery. Okay, so now take a look at this, guys. What is different here is T. What is T? T is numeric data. You're returning a T. In a function at the end, what you return depends really based on your requirements. You can return a teacup or a coffee cup. So here we are returning a teacup, which is 1. So whatever you're printing is getting printed like that, but whatever you return, notice it is giving an output like that in slightly red color. So just be aware of that subtleties, guys, okay? And here, notice we're returning a tray. Tray is a complex object. It has 1 coffee cup and a teacup. Global Salman. That's my favorite. Nescafe. So this function, you can return and we are trying to convey that, hey, you can return a teacup, you can return a coffee cup or a tray, a group of cups. Okay, guys? And now take a look at this, guys. The same thing. This is even more complex tray. A tray with a coffee cup. I'll put Nescafe. Cool. A coffee cup, a teacup, a tuple, and another tray of coffee cups. A more nested list or a nested, more complex object is being written here. So that is the story of the return. Return is you return whatever you want. Whether you want to return a list object, a teacup, or a coffee cup, or a tuple object is up to you. Or a complex which has everything is up to you. Cool. 0 pi. Okay. So now let's take a look at this, guys. What we'll do is, okay. Gentlemen, ladies, 53. Can we take a short 5-minute break for a quick glass of water and maybe a cup of tea? Everybody okay with that? Okay. Thank you, guys. Save the thing. Zoom back. Okay, guys, I'm back. I'll give you a quick touch of a little bit of YAML, and in coming up days, we'll also touch a little bit of Ansible, guys. Okay. So let's see what is YAML, and let's try to understand. Are you guys all back? Can you give me a quick yes, please? Great, thank you, guys. So YAML is a data exchange format, and let's try to look at an actual definition of it, but at a slightly high level. It is used heavily in the cloud world, in a Devops world, in a server-to-server exchange, in an application scenarios and things like that. And as a standard data format, data exchange format, guys. Okay, so let's take a little bit deep. Some of the common or the popular data exchange formats is generally when applications are exchanging the data, they generally exchange in the form of JSON versus XML versus YAML. All the websites are generally in HTML website, guys. Okay, YAML is human readable. It is also serializable. What is serializable, guys? Serializable means, so I come here. If this is a Python tray, a pandas data frame, what we can do with this one is visualize. This is your laptop, and visualize. This is the RAM inside the laptop. And let's say here is the pandas data frame. Let's start with this one. This is a pandas data frame object. Okay, or in other words, more precisely, the entire pandas data frame can be saved to a file in your laptop or computer. That is called serialization. Once we save it to a file, this can be exchanged, can be sent as a file or as a to another computer or to a laptop or a server and things like that. And what do we do? From this one, you build back the data frame. What is that? That is called data deserialization. Data serialization and data deserialization is generally used in scenarios where you need to send the data from one laptop or one computer, one server to another server, multiple servers and things like that. It is human readable. We'll see what that means. It is used heavily in the Ansible playbooks, Kubernetes, Mesosphere, data science, machine learning, analytics, and so on, guys. Okay. And the common, most popular data formats, standard data formats are HTML to YAML. Here is an example of HTML. In HTML, they're generally the files ending with .html. There are generally lots of tags. HTML body, H1. If you open up any website and you right click and look at the view source, what we are looking at is nothing but the HTML, guys. Okay, and it's referred as hypertext markup language. Here is XML. If you look at XML, it is slightly lesser verbose compared to the HTML, but still, here is an address as a street, city, state, and zip. And notice for every, so address is acting like a parent tag, street, city, state, and zip are acting like a child tag, child tags, and everything has a start and a ending tag, and they are generally ending with .xml extension, guys. Okay, here is JSON. JSON is slightly lesser verbose even compared to the XML. Here we don't have a start and ending tag. They are all acting like a dictionary or a key and values. Street is the key. 101 Main Street is a value. Similarly, address is the key, and its value is a complex dictionary object. So it is nested dictionary. An open standard file format and data interchange format, a popular one. Even better than the latest and the greatest is YAML. So YAML is yet another markup language, is what it is. It is a data serialization language. Data serialization is generally when we want to transport the data from one computer, one server to another server, we generally serialize the data and deserialize the data and send it to our own, guys. Okay. It is easy to read. If you look at this, address, street, city, state, zip, not too many tags, much more lesser tags compared to the JSON. That's how the YAML looks like, guys. But if you put all the four of them together, this is how they look like. So I put this here, put this here. So again, that's a lot of text there, which is generally found in the HTML website. Compared to this one, XML is better. slightly less. We wouldn't have any. Generally in XML data, you don't carry any of the styles information. You just carry the data. Then compared to the XML, notice JSON is which will take much lesser footprint. Compared to the JSON, YAML will take even much lesser footprint. In YAML, again, the indentation becomes important. Indentation, there is a space, 1 or 2 spaces generally maintained as part of the syntax and things like that, guys. So structure. So there it is, guys. Address. An address has a street, city, state, and zip. That is a design, is what it is. So if you look deep, what is happening? Generally in YAML files, we indent it, at least 2 spaces here. So the 2 spaces is acting like indentation in Python. Behind the scenes, just like Python, indentation is a syntactical requirement. Okay, and for every key and a value. Okay, so in other words, more precisely, come here, put this here. So what is happening is this is a key for which this whole thing is a tray. It's a tray of keys and values, which is like a dictionary object in Python. Okay, and inside this one, it has a separate key and a value, another key and a value, another key and a value, and another key and a value. So what is this? This is like a dictionary, a dictionary object with 4 keys and values, and this whole thing is referred as one document. In real world, things can get very, very, very complex. You generally have tens and tens of such keys and values, and tens and tens of such addresses, tens and thousands of such addresses as part of the data and things like that. So Ansible, which is more of a infrastructure as code, is becoming the go-to standard for the infrastructure as code. It is based in Python. It uses this kind of YAML files. Not only Ansible, but many other use them. And we'll look at them, guys. We'll slowly get into them. So these are just a touch of a couple of documents in a document-oriented language. Kind of we refer to them as documents. It's something to be aware of, okay? And what is important is the indentation is important. What is indentation? 2 spaces there, at least 1 space here becomes important, is what the thing is about, okay? So again, indentation, there is about 2 spaces here, and there is about 1 space. 1 or more spaces required to declare a key value pair. Each of these are keys and values. There are 2 addresses here. And use indentation to create collections. So one more time, to create collections and indentation. Okay, we'll see what that means. So this is a comment, just like in Python, hash is a comment. Address colon space and a hash means that part of it is treated as a comment. You are just trying to explain what that particular attribute is. Sometimes it becomes important. You give a slight indication, maybe a brief description of what that attribute or the variable refers to. Everybody catching it, guys? Quick yes, please. So far with me. Cool. So now there are 2 styles in YAML, block style and a flow style. For lists and maps, let's try to understand this. So take a look at fruits. Fruits, banana, a group of fruits, banana, mango, and apple. If we write the structure like this, it's like a parent and 3 children. That is called the block style. You can just go ahead and put, say, fruits, colon, bracket, square bracket. This is referred as a block style. I'm sorry, flow style. So these 2 are same. You can write it in this format, this format. This is nothing but a list object, the Python list object. Okay, guys. Then come back here. Notice address again, a Python dictionary. There is a flower bracket, a key and a value, key and a value. This is in a block style. This is in a flow style. So here and there, some people will be throwing these terms around. Just be familiar with them. Sometimes you may find the data in this format. Sometimes you may find the data in this format in a DevOps world and things like that. So it is just a good idea to be familiar with that, guys. Okay. So what is a key value? What is a map? A map is nothing but a dictionary. What is a dictionary? Dictionary is a key and a value. A dictionary is also referred as a hash map in a programming world. In a Java world and a .NET world, they call that as a hash map. It is same as dictionary. It is nothing but it is an object with a key and a value. Everybody with me? Quick yes, please. Okay, so there is a key and a value. City equals to New York, generally written as city colon. City is the key, value is in New York. And YAML data types, again, there are scalars and collections. Scalars is nothing but your coffee cups, teacups, and cool drinks. Strings is the coffee, numbers is the numeric data is the teacup, booleans is the cool drinks, true and false, the thumbs up and the Fanta. Collections are nothing but the trays. Sequences are lists. A tray of cups, a tray of similar cups. List is a tray of different cups. Arrays is a tray of similar cups. The same data structures used in YAML. Mapping, again, this is where the keys and values are coming in. This is the dictionary, is where the keys mapping to a value is what we say. So we refer to that as mapping. Quick yes, please. Okay, so there is a scalar. So one more time, just for the sake of simplicity and discipline, let's go a little bit deep into this. Scalars. Scalars is nothing but a programming language world. They are simple data types. That's a coffee cup. Main Street, San Jose coffee cup. Notice state is also California, even though they have not given a single quotes. This is in double quotes. This is in single quotes. They have not given any quotes yet. It looks like it is accepting. We'll try to test it. Zip is 95035. Well, that is numeric data. And this is a scientific notation, 5 multiplied by 10 to the power of 10. And occupied is a true, that's the Boolean. And this is like a date and a time. It's like a date, data type is what you can think of, guys. So similar data types, these are all called scalars. Scalars are generally single. Teacups and coffee cups and things like that. Single things are referred as scalars, guys. Okay, group of thing. We can also have null values. Null is where we don't have any values. So total area in square feet is null. We kept that as empty, so that is referred as a null or a none in a Python word. And then we have long strings. YAML is the human readable data serialization language. It is commonly used and it continues like that. So what do you do? Well, that's where you can use a pipe symbol. A pipe symbol is preserving the new line character. It's a human readable data serialization language. It is commonly used for configuration files in applications and where data is being stored or transmitted. YAML targets many of the same communications applications as extensible markup language, but has a minimal syntax. In other words, the footprint of it is much more smaller because unnecessarily less than, greater than, all those things are not there. And the starting tags, ending tags are not really, ending tags are not really must, guys, okay? Now, there are shortcuts for that in XML also, but compared to XML, the footprint is much more lesser in a YAML. And if you put a pipe, you're telling it, hey, this is a multi-line string. Catching it, guys? Quick yes, please. Cool. Let's say greater than, again, one more time. It is a multi-line string, but this new line characters are ignored. I think what happens is we'll see it later in the coming up days. Maybe when I do the exercises and things like that, it will replace this one with a space, I think. New line characters are ignored and it will put that as one full line. If you put that. So these are different ways. You can use a pipe, you can use a greater than, minus, plus, numbers, and things like that. So this is called block style. If you use a pipe or greater than, it is called a block style. This is called a chomping indicator, minus or plus, clip, strip, plus. Again, we'll see in a few examples. And the indentation is the number. If not specified, the first line is used. It means 6 spaces. Again, we'll see that, guys. Okay, so here is greater than -3. Greater than, don't ignore the new line. -3 means, I think, before the first 3 characters, ignore them. That is what is the meaning of that, guys. Okay, but I guess it'll when I actually show you the data and when we run it, it will probably be more simple and easy, guys. But let's see, back to lists and arrays. List, bell pepper, a group of groceries here. That's a list object, and we are using a dash here to just say, hey, these things are the children of the groceries. That is like a list. List is a groceries object, and these are the values, groceries. Next, again, groceries is a list object and one key value pair. Okay, so here, this is 4 items, guys. Okay, let's say, for sake of simplicity, let's go with this one. So here is a coffee cup. 1, here's 2, here's 3, here's 4. That's a list object. Cool. Next, come here. What we have is this whole thing is a tray in which here's the key. Choose this one. We'll call this as, let's say, put it like this. This is the key. and it has a value which is, let's use this one, this value. So one key refers to the groceries and the value has 4 items. Is one way to think of it. It's a one key and a value. They're saying it's one key and value written in block style. Similarly, one dictionary with 6 key, one dictionary. So what we have is this whole thing is a dictionary. Of course, everything is a dictionary. Here also the blue one is dictionary. And here, this is directly acting like a list object, guys. Okay. Now, what is happening here? So this is one key in which then it has another dictionary, which has 6 keys and values. So there's a key and a value. There's a key and a value. There's a key and a value. 6 keys and values. Everybody catching it, guys? Quick yes, please. Okay. So can you locate there? So slightly deep on here, let us see what's happening here. Start with this one. So key and a value, good, no problem here. No problem up to here, but here is a key and the value of that is this one. Now, one of the things is, as long as the indentations are given, there is no problem. As long as the space is given, there is no problem. So this, I think, is okay. Next, come here. Friend is a key, and all these are keys. All these are keys, and all these are values. Indentation is given, so this should also be okay. Fruits, apple. So again, in all the indentations are there here, and that's a key, and a tray of values, that should be okay. But now come here. Friends is a key, in which seems to have a value, which is again having a key and a value. And so in other words, let's say this whole thing is one tray. Let's say come here, which has a key. So here is the cap, and this whole thing is the Kelly Peters. Kelly Peters is the pen. Kelly Peters is the value, which is okay. Put that as the key and the value. Now what is happening is, under this one, this is coming. A name. Name has a street, city, state, and zip. May not be logically correct. Saying that a friend has a street, a person has a street, city is much more meaningful than that one. Okay, so even though it might look like, the indentation may be correct here, I think this is where the error is. You don't say name has a street, city, it is more of a design. You say friend. Here is a friend, is Kelly Peters, and here is his street, city, state, and zip. So that depends again on how you think, how you take based on your data and things like that, guys. That's more of a design related thing is what it is. Everybody with me? Quick yes, are you getting the point? Okay. Okay, then comes a set. A set, as we discussed, is something which is unique. It will allow only unique points and things like that, guys. Okay, so there is bell pepper. We're using a double exclamation. Question and the space represents an item in a set. So let's say we have milk repeated 2 times here. And what will that do, guys? That will replace, that will remove the milk and it will only put 1 milk there. As simple as that. Cool, guys. And let's see, give me 1 moment here. Visualization, okay. Anchors. Okay, this I will save it for tomorrow. Okay, it's just here, let's stop here. So that's a quick touch of YAML, guys. Tomorrow I will take up 1 or 2 exercises. I need 1 or 2 concepts to be completed. in Python to be able to explain YAML syntax and things like that. So let me switch back here to a little bit of Python, guys, okay? Sharing the screen again. There you go. Okay, so let's see what we have here, guys. cn123, number of arguments, c.py. Number of arguments is c, okay. It's okay. Let's see, take a look at this, guys. Here is import sys is like system. And let's see. And let's try to understand what is number of arguments in arguments list. I'm going to copy this one. We will paste this here. Text, paste it here, save it as file, save as, call this as c.py. Save all files, we'll save it as a Python file. Okay, now what we'll do is, say, come back here. Back here. I'll copy this path. Send this C. Say, copy this one. Say, go to this directory, E colon. Say E. Oh, sorry, F, I think. Okay, say CD, which will take me to this directory. And if I say dir, notice dir is, I think this is the latest file we created. And where did I create this file? What did I do? This is c.py and it's in NSC. Okay. Where am I? I'm in NSC. Ah, here we go. Oh, sorry. I'm using a Windows command here. ls-ltr. Let me do that. So there is c.py. That's a Linux command. I'll maybe explain tomorrow and things like that. Is the file I have, guys. Now, what we'll do is when we write some script in Python, how you run it, you say python c.py. Go to that directory and notice number of arguments is 1 and args list is c.py. What does that mean? Well, let's try to understand that. Now, import sys.argv. What did we do, guys? We have come here, put this here, put this here. So we have said python c.py. And what is Python here? Python is a Python compiler. Python is a programming language. We'll call that as a compiler. For that, we are giving, let's use maybe this one. We're giving one argument. The c.py is one argument. Why is that important? That is what number of arguments is 1. What is that? For Python, you have given one argument. And how do you do that? Well, that is what sys.argv. The naming is not very meaningful. It is not easy to remember. More of a purely computer science naming standard. Maybe you can think like that. But not the best naming standard. Argv, argument v is what it is. Length. Length is how many of them are there? Well, there is only one of them. Okay. Just to understand that, let's come back here. Let's say you just put 1. Run it. Notice number of arguments is 2. Number of arguments is 2. What is 2? This is Python is taking this as the first argument and it is taking this as the second argument. Are you catching it, guys? Quick yes, please. Okay, Nitish and let's say Rahul. Okay. So now, if you come back here, what is again sys.argv is getting all the arguments. You're converting it to a string. What is happening is this is actually coming in as a anything you give from here to here is being taken as a list object by Python. And when you convert it to a print string, it is printing the list object as it is. Okay, so what is something to be kept in mind is if you want to write a Python file, what do? This is how you write a Python file. In other words, let's say, come back here. Let's say back here. Mystery of, let's say, okay. We'll copy this one. Paste this here. c.py. And we'll say import sys. copy this. So this time in the file we'll write, rather than hard coding it here, we'll say list equal to sys.argv, and we'll say cup1 equal to list of 0, and we'll say cup2 equals to list of 1. So let's say cup1 comma cup2. So now what we're doing is we are going to, let's say, copy this one, come to c.py. Let's say for sake of discipline, I'll comment these three. Let's come here, paste it here. Puts this. I'm going to save this one. And now come here. Before I come here, I'll go back. Close this one. Close this one. Back to Kappa. And the way we will run it is, we'll say Python c.py, and we'll say first one here, second one here. And that's sys.argv. Okay. The whole thing. So I think this one will be 1 here, this one will be 2, because c.py will be 0. Index will say coffee. We'll say tea. Okay. Copy this, save it, back to c.py. This should be 1, this should be 2, and save this one. Now we'll say, come here, Python 0. So printing cappuccino. So what are we doing in the mystery function here? In mystery, return tray. Actually, we are returning tray. More precisely, what we want to do is global Salman. Salman is cappuccino. Okay, let me. What I really want to demonstrate is within the mystery, Pravas and Akshay. Yes, let's say change this to A cup1 comma A cup2. Here we'll say print A cup1. Next we'll say print A cup2. Okay, just to keep it simple so that you understand, we'll save this one. Say come here, copy this. Paste it here. Now back here, if you run it, coffee and tea, we're printing coffee and tea. So what I'm trying to convey is when we read Python script, sometimes we may need to pass the arguments. The user may need to pass the arguments. So where it is, here we go. So here we're passing coffee and tea as the argument, but for Python, this is the 0-based index, this is the first index, this is the second index, and what are we doing? Inside this file, we're able to access these 3 arguments as a list object, and we are able to extract whatever is being passed into that one. Everybody catching the point, guys? Quick yes, please. Nitish and Rahul, are you catching it? Okay, so that's how we run a Python file. So inside the file, what we do, again, we may create a class, we may create a much more longer script, long function. We might manipulate the dictionaries, tuples, different kinds of data structures. What you do is up to you. That could be a single line or maybe group of tens and tens of lines of code is what it is. Okay. Okay, so back to functions, a few advanced functions and a few slightly, a few topics you need to be aware of, guys. So let's say, take a look at this one. I will run this at one time and see if you're able to catch it. It's some numbers. Okay. Now, gentlemen, ladies, just can you tell me what is going on in this function? Rahul and Nitish, give it a try, please. You're adding the arguments as simple as that. We are taking 3 arguments, you're adding them and giving the total. Pardon me. Sorry about that. As simple as that, guys. Okay, so now take a look at this one. If you run this one, notice it'll give you an error. What is the problem, guys? Three parameters. In other words, this is the default way. So these are more precisely, these are positional arguments. This one is being given to this position. This one is being given to this position. This one is being mapped to this position. These are called as positional arguments. Okay, a little bit computer science terminology here, programming terminology. Here and there, you'll be hearing these terms, so you need to be familiar, guys. Okay, so in other words, this function is always forcing us. You cannot give one or two. There are three. To get into this house, you need to come with 3 cups. You cannot get into that with 2 cups. If you have to get into a theater, you need 3 tickets. You cannot go in with 2 tickets. This is another way to think of it, guys. Okay, again, based on the position, so it is referred as a position argument. Let's say, come here. Now take a look at this one. Now what we are doing is slightly different, which is we are hard coding in the function. N2 is 20, N3 is 30. We'll do the same thing, which is, take a look at this. Total 16, but what happened now? We only passed one argument. What Python is going to do, is it is going to give it to this argument. If we do not send the second and the third, whatever is hard coded here, these are called the default values. The default values are taken. This is called default arguments. So this is a position argument, and these two are called default arguments. They are being hard coded. What Python is doing is, if you do not happen to have these two values, it is automatically hard coding or using the values of the default values. So they are called as the default arguments. Quick yes, please. Okay, so if you just pass 2, let us say, instead of 1, we pass 2, then what it will do, it is taking N1 as 10, N2 as 40. For N3, it is taking as 30. If you pass a value, the 20 is not taken. It is taking whatever is, it is giving the first priority to what you pass. If you don't pass it, then the default value is taken. That is something to be kept in mind. Quick yes, please. Good. Let's go a little bit deep. Come here. If you pass all the 3 values, the first priority is going to be given to it. None of the hard-coded values are taken. All the custom values are taken, and there it is. The total is 600. This is called default arguments, guys. Okay, or from a computer science standpoint. Now take a look at this. Now take a look at this, guys. We have the function which has 3 arguments, but what we are doing is we are passing in 5. That is not acceptable. Neither have we hard coded, pardon me. We did not even provide the default values here. And we are trying to run it. So that is not acceptable, is what it is, guys. Okay. Pardon me. Just one moment, guys. Just clearing my throat here. Okay, sorry about that, guys. So the story is, again, you have to pass in the position arguments there. Let's say come here. Okay, let's see what is going on here, guys. So there is a function Taj, Brookbond 0. We're adding Brookbond and Taj, returning Brookbond, Akshay 10, the same thing. Probably. Okay, now take a look at this, guys. Increasing the complexity a little bit, another type of function is coming up here. Here is a function is like a home. So let's say this is Akshay's home. To get into Akshay's home, you need to go with 1 cup. What he's doing is he creates a new cup, he adds the cup that you give him, and he's giving you the return value. So there it is, Akshay and 10. Okay, so if you look at it, nothing much complex is going on. But take a look at Prabhas. There are 2 cups here. And let's say, take a look at this. You come with 2 cups, he's adding the 2 cups to Brookbond and he's giving you. Okay, then let's go to Ranveer. Ranveer looks like he's taking 3 cups and he's adding it. Okay, in other words, imagine we keep on writing. Let's say here is Amitabh. Amitabh is taking 100 cups as input. Pardon me. He's taking 100 cups as input. And he's here again, this is not the right syntax. I'm just trying to convey here. Imagine we have to write a function like that. What we are doing inside the function is a simple thing. You're adding all the cups to a single cup and giving back the final values. What is a single thing? But writing a code where you're putting 100 arguments like that for every one scenario, for 1 cup, 2 cup, 3 cup, 4 cup, what if you have 100,000 or maybe 1 million cups? What is that? Then it will become very unproductive. Okay, and that is not very good way of writing the code. So in such cases, what we do? Okay, so there is Prabhas again with 1000 cups. We can use a star. Star is referred as variable number of arguments. A slightly important and a slightly advanced concept, guys. I want you to I will force you to remember this one because a lot of the more modern programmers will be using this one. So now take a look at this. We're going to call this as Bahubali and Bahubali. You pass in, let's say, 1 cup, it will run. You pass in, let's say, Bahubali. Let's say 10, 22 cups, no problem. You pass in 3 cups, no problem. You pass in 100, 1000. What is happening is we do not have to write 100 functions, 100 or 1000 functions. You say start tray. What is star? Star is variable number of arguments. And what is happening is we have a simple for loop. You're telling, hey, I'm coming into your cups here. It's like you're telling I'm coming with cup 1, cup 2, cup 3, and so on up to cup 100. Whereas here, or you're telling this guy, I'm coming with a tray of cups. So what you're doing is in using the for loop, you're picking up each cup, adding the cup to the teacup and returning the final value. So what is star? Star is referred as variable number of arguments. Again, I will force you to remember that, guys. Okay. So this way, with one function, we can avoid writing multiple functions is what it is. Everybody catching it, guys? Nitish and Rahul? Before for loop, you can please print the tray. Oh, good one. Okay, let me try to print the tray. Say print tray. Let's run it. And let's run it. That's a good one. Notice it's not printing. Let's say, what's that? My bad. Let me try another one. And let's run again. There you go. So it's coming like a tuple object, a tuple, a tray with 1. It's taking the cup, putting it inside the tray, and giving it to you. Good one there. That's a feel of it, guys. So even if you put 100 or 1000, you put 2. Notice if you don't put anything, let us see what happens. If you don't put anything, it will come in as empty tray. It is coming in as empty tray means, notice an empty tray is getting printed. And what's happening? It is never, if there are no cups in the tray, the iteration is not going to start. The for loop is not going to get triggered. So it is just directly returning the T which is a 0, totally equals to 0. Shrishal and Rahul, are you catching it, guys? Okay, so that's a important one, guys. That is variable number of arguments, as simple as that. Okay, now take a look at this. Some variable number of arguments. Take a look at this. What is the difference here, guys? The same function with just different names. I'm just using different names here, calling it a star args n instead of a cup and things like that. What do? Let's say we pass in 5 cups here, 10 to 50, all of them are getting added. It's coming up to 150. Now take a look at this. As simple as that. So that is for that one. But what we'll do is, gentlemen, ladies, to any if you have any, I need to share the code with you so that you guys can practice. Give me one moment here. Let me bring up my drive here. Let's see, will this work here? Oh boy, do I need to log in? Try this one. Don't know what that is. This won't work. One moment, guys. Looks like I forgot my password and just working on it. Give me one moment. Say forward. There's some form. This one. Yes. Oh boy. If I can, I think I need to use this one. One moment, guys. Sorry about that. Okay. So it's less 100. That's fine. Okay. Okay. So this is NSC, right? So let's say I'll create a new directory here. 0 NSC IT CIT. Click on create. Here we go. Sharing it again. Say share it. Okay. So here, what we'll do, we'll drop the file, which is say more, say new, to notebook text editor, and just save this file as a .py file. Copy this one, create new file, paste it here. This is let's go to pi. Say save to drive. So everything step by step I have made available here, guys. Please do access this one. And now go ahead and share your, just type in your emails, guys, so that I can copy paste them and give you access. Say in the CIT. You can share your emails, guys. Type in the chat window, please. Nitish Tiwari, okay. Copy these things. That's it, only 2 of them. Okay, you can share it later if you'd like to. It's not. Oh, I need to copy paste them separately. So from Rahul, there we go. And copy this one. Come back here. Team intro. Let's it here. Rahul Gupta. Is it Gmail? Kajal. Copy this one. Let's do it. Copy this one and paste it here. Okay. Copy this. Paste it here. Save your. So send. Okay. So check it out, guys. And did you just share it? Okay, looks like I have. Everyone here. Okay. Please check this. Checking your spam also, just to be on the safe side and things like that. Okay. Okay. Great. Thanks, Sai. You can also probably, if one of you get, you can just pass it around your own team members if others don't get, because sometimes they end up in the spam folders and things like that, guys. Great. So back to a little bit of work. We'll spend 1 or 2 examples and we'll then look at the takeover for today. Let's see, some variable numbers. So that is variable number of arguments, guys. Okay. Let's see what else we have. We have a tray, complex tray. And let's see, that should be a pretty straightforward one. From here to here. Okay. Tell me what is happening in this lines of code, guys. Simple one. Nitish, Sai. Okay, short and sweet, we have created a tray. We converted it to a tuple. Actually, we're creating a tuple object from a tray object. Or you can say you're converting a list to a tuple object, a complex list object to a tuple object. Nitish and Sai, are you catching it, guys? Okay. Okay, back to the tuple. Now here we have a tuple and tuple length. Okay, what's happening here? Print the tuple. Probably don't need that. So tuple length, how many? 5. Length, again, if you recall, is nothing but a pretty straightforward one. It'll tell you how many cups are in the tray. There are about 5 cups, 2 teacups and 3 coffee cups. Tuple count will tell you, notice, it's counting the elements, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Sumit. So it is counting. It says there are 4 2s inside this one. Sorry about that. Okay. Next again, tuple count. Okay, let's see what we have here. Nescafe is a tuple count. Expected end of high. Oh, strange. Then say tuple underscore count dot do a tab. Notice for tuple object there are only two, count and index. You can do very limited stuff here. If you say count of Nescafe, you can not only look for numerical data, you can also look for textual data. Nescafe, there are two of them. Sunrise, there are three of them. So copy this one, paste this one. Sunrise, there are three of them. As simple as that. Count is count, guys. Not much, will not overcomplicate it. Okay, now take a look at this, guys. Slightly deep on before we wrap up. So there's a tray. It looks like we have one teacup, one coffee cup, and a tray inside it, guys. Okay, so we're using a for loop to print it. And what do we do? Well, let's see. We have teacup, we have a coffee cup, and we have an entire tray getting printed. As simple as that. But let's see. Okay, for coffee in reverse tray. So what this does. There's an error here. Oh, what's the problem here, guys? Can anyone of you think? Simple as that. Okay, I'm just playing around. So we didn't have the colon and the for loop wouldn't work. So now we're printing the tray, we're printing the coffee cup and the teacup. As simple as that. Cool. Okay. So what we'll do, I'll save the keywords for tomorrow. Any questions before we wrap up today, guys? Give you a couple of minutes here. Do you think you'll be able to install the Anaconda and you'll be able to do a little bit of practice, guys? Because we suddenly don't want to be in a stage where we don't want to tell our team that, hey, we haven't practiced, we've been just auditing the course and things like that. It will be helpful for you. You think you'll be able to handle that, guys? You'll be able to install Anaconda and bring up the Jupyter and just type these things step by step. Everybody, quick yes, please. Please do that, guys, okay? Please do not be in a position where we are updating our team saying that we haven't practiced yet. It is more important and more helpful, more useful. This is about empowering you. Almost all the companies are today trying to empower their employees with techniques like this. And do not underestimate the importance of Python. It is very simple. It is much simpler, and it helps you in many scenarios and things like that, guys. Okay, so please do practice and please try to hang in there. And if possible, tomorrow I'll try to give you a quick touch up of some of the Linux basic concepts also, and we'll try to continue from there, guys. Okay, because most of the DevOps and all the other things which are coming up will definitely need Linux basics for you. So we'll also look into those things. Okay, guys. For today, I'll stop it here, guys. We'll continue the journey tomorrow. You guys take care, stay safe, and keep learning, guys. Okay. Signing off for today. Thank you and bye for now. Thank you, guys. Thank you again. Bye now.